Don't worry, Doctor. Everything is as it should be. The stage is set. Worlds will live. Worlds will die. And the universe will never be the same.
Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What we have here today is a legend in DC Comics, the Anti-Monitor, the antagonist of the, dare I say, legendary Crisis on Infinite Earths. And if you've watched the show, if you've been subscribed to the channel, you know how much I love DC Comics, and you know how much you may have heard me talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths before, and how much I love it. And this is something that, quite honestly, it's kind of, I don't want to say obscure, but I would dare say it's kind of niche, that I'm kind of surprised McFarlane came out with this. He hasn't really done anything, the Anti-Monitor that is, since Crisis, and it's just really cool to see that McFarlane Toys is reaching back to, like, those classic storylines, those important, you know, pinnacle storylines. Like, this was the start of the whole collapse the multiverse, bring the multiverse back. This was arguably one of the starts of the whole, like, summertime comic crossover event between Crisis over at DC and Secret Wars over at Marvel. This is just a classic figure, and from what I can see so far through the packaging, it's not going to disappoint. I mean, there's a few things that I would have liked to have seen different, and we'll talk about that once we get them opened up. But for right now, this is a McFarlane Mega figure, and as you can see on the bottom, there's the Multiverse banner with the Anti-Monitor name on there. Big window to see what's inside. Over here, more window, Anti-Monitor. This here on the back, this is a fantastic shot. Oh, right out of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Just look at all of them, taking it straight to him. Also, you can tell from this that the figure isn't going to be to scale, quite obviously. And, man, I used to be able to name all of these. Like, you got Golden Age Superman right there. You got current, as of time of this issue, Superman right there. Captain Marvel, Dr. Light, Hawkman, Artemis, Wonder Woman here. You have Golden Age Wonder Woman down here. You can just see, like, her head peeking up with her tiara on. Martian Manhunter, Jay Garrick Flash, Scott Allen, Green Lantern. I'm sorry, Alan Scott, Green Lantern, Black Lightning down here, Aquaman, all of this. This is Power Girl. Like, just look, this is like a who's who of DC Comics at the time. This is fantastic. I'm pretty sure this is Kirby. But that's just mwah, beautiful. Over here, Anti-Monitor, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Up top, more big window. On the bottom, nothing to look at. So, without further ado, let's just crack this box open, and let's take a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Anti-Monitor. Here he is, Mobius, the Anti-Monitor, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is approximately 9¼ inches tall to the top of his bullet head. So if you watch the show, you know I have sort of this love-hate relationship with McFarlane Toys, but I have to admit that when it comes to their Mega figures, because they're larger and they can get more detailed, I really think they nail it with the Mega figures. The Anti-Monitor's form, body, whatever you want to say, is, quite honestly, kind of basic. But it's that simplicity that made him stand out. It's that simplicity, that basic design that Kirby was so good at that kind of makes him timeless. Like, you can look at this and you can draw comparisons to things like Ultron with just like this metallic open cables. Like, Ultron is actually a very simplistic design as well. But I think that's part of the genius of characters like this that make them timeless. Like, there's nothing here that really anchors him to a specific time. Maybe you could say that because it's definitely, because of its simplicity, it's definitely not from the 90s. But past that, I feel like this is something that could pop up in comics now. New, I mean, like, I don't know, I just think this is a great design for this character. And look at this mouth, look at these eyes, like, there's just something so sinister and insane about all of this. I love that the eyes right here are actually separate pieces that just fit into these recessed eye sockets right there. And the mouth, I don't know if you can see that real well, there's actually like the texturing inside the mouth. Now, the paint apps on him are spot on as well, because look at this pinstriping right here. There's no slop, there's no overspray, nothing. Like, this is great. The rest of it, I'm not sure I can really call it paint apps, because one of the things that McFarlane does that is pretty decent, pretty genius, is that, like, all of these pieces are pretty much molded in the colored plastic. That, like, there's really no paint design. Like, these aren't painted yellow. These were molded in yellow. These aren't painted blue. These pieces were molded in blue. Same for the silver. That really the only place you're getting paint apps, I feel, are this piece of plastic right here, that if you look on the back side, you can see it's actually blue, and they painted that yellow. The teeth and pinstriping like this. The rest of it, I feel, is just molded in these primary colors, which is, once again, just a great choice, makes it stand out, makes it very neat and tight. I love this metallic, this ridged, textured metallic in here. The only thing that I would like to have seen different, and this is very much perhaps me just nitpicking, and this is personal preference, but if you look at, if you looked at the image at the beginning of the video, there was like Kirby crackle in the mouth and behind the eyes. The mouth, I don't mind so much that it's in black, but I would have really loved if behind those eyes, instead of black, they would have given it sort of like that bright burning red. I don't know if that would have diluted the effect of the eyes or if that would have made it stand out even more, but I would have liked to have seen that red coming through behind the eyes right there. That's really my only nitpick of the figure as far as like paint apps and designs go. These tubes on here are very rubbery, very pliable, very flexible. They'll move with the limbs, and I don't feel like they're going to pop out or they're going to break or stretch or anything like that. They move very well. There's enough slack in them that you can get the poses, the positioning you want out of them, and that's great. But also, let's not forget, this is the anti-monitor. It's not like he's going to be doing high kicks or anything like that. Now, taking a look at the articulation, the first thing that surprised me is the head can rotate. The head can actually rotate all the way around. I thought this was going to be locked in there, but you can actually get movement out of the head. I'm sure you can hear it squeaking, but not only does it move side to side, it actually has some pretty decent amount of tilt from side to side as well. He really can't look up, mainly because of the design. He can look down a little bit, but it's good that he can kind of look down because he needs to look down on those he's about to, you know, stomp. Only thing is that when he looks down, you can see part of his costuming sort of getting in the way. But other than that, like, I'm just impressed that the head has movement to begin with. The arms will do, whoops, popped out. Let's push that back in. And you can see that whenever you're moving it up, you have to take it out to the side. Otherwise, it'll pop out. The shoulder pieces are stiff plastic. They're not rubbery. So you have to take the arm out to the side. No butterfly joints to speak of. It does hinge a little bit on the ball joint that you saw when I popped the arm off. But other than that, there's no ball joint, or I'm sorry, there's no butterfly joint in there. There is a bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows. His hands will pivot. Wrists will come in and out, but you can also do this, and then you can do that, and then they'll hinge up and down as well. You can see he has an ab cut right here, very fluid ab cut. He can do a full 360 spin. He can crank back. He can crank forward. There is a ball joint at the waist that, once again, he can do a 360 spin. Not much as far as going back. Not much as far as going forward, but if you work it in conjunction with the weight or with the ab cut, he gets some good movement and also can do a little side to side right there. Legs will come up. Legs will go back a little. The hidden hip joint right here actually gives you some pretty decent travel. It goes in far more than it goes out. I kind of wish it was the other way around. I wouldn't mind if it only went in that far, but I would love if it could like twist out as much as it twists in. You saw it before. Double jointed knees. Tight detents. No boot cut. Ankles rock forward. Ankles rock back. Forward facing pin for some rocker. And we have toe articulation. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you look at some of this blue plastic right in here, especially here in the shoulders, I don't know if it's going to stand out very well on camera, but there's a little bit of that swirly twirly plastic going on in here that gives the whole thing a very metallic look to him, which obviously he has a very metallic look. But I like that they sort of used this, I don't know, like shimmery, swirly, twirly plastic for the blue as well. So it's not just like flat color compared to the bright yellow of the tubing or the metallic of the body. Also, once again, looking at the crotch piece, very rubbery like all of the DC Multiverse figures, but it's actually sculpted in. Look at that. That looks fantastic. I don't mean to keep harping on it, but for as many complaints as I often have about McFarlane figures, I do want to draw attention to when they deserve credit. And they've really done a great job getting these crotch pieces to like just fit to the style, the form, the profile of the figures that they're made for. The Anti-Monitor doesn't have any accessories, but he does come with his collector's card like all DC Multiverse figures do. And this gives you an even better look at the image that was on the back of the packaging, that without all of the, without the bottom of the box right here, you can actually see even more people that are in this image. There's Firestorm, there's another Superman. That might actually be Superboy Prime. I mistakenly called him Superman. That might be Superboy Prime right there with Superman here. Golden Age Superman up there. There's Golden Age Wonder Woman. Looks like Kid Flash. We got Pariah down here, which is awesome. I love this. I love this series. On the back, we have a bit of his bio. Go ahead, pause and read. And like all McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, he of course does come with his figure stand, the simple black disc with the DC logo stamped on it. And now for size comparison, here he is beside two other McFarlane Multiverse figures. We have Supergirl from Injustice 2, and we have Superman from Action Comics 1000. Obviously, looking at this figure, he is not to scale with how tall he should be. I don't think they would ever actually be able to make a 2-scale Anti-Monitor, but he does look good next to the Supers here, which, you know, if you know, you know. But I do think there is an opportunity here. I do think there is an opportunity for both McFarlane Toys and collectors that, like, this honestly could be, and I don't mean to put ideas in anybody's heads, but this honestly could be McFarlane's Galactus. Like, I know Todd doesn't get into the crowdfunding, and when he does, he just uses Kickstarter. He doesn't have anything like Mattel Creations or HasLab, but there is an opportunity, I feel, that you could make, like, a 3-foot-tall figure with LED lights, with LED lights in the mouth, behind the eyes, sort of simulating that Kirby crackle. I really think that, like, you could have a figure like this, a crowd-funded figure like Galactus, but the Anti-Monitor. I don't know, that's just me. Maybe I'm talking heresy. I know the whole crowdfunding for action figures is a little bit of a controversial topic, but I do think there's an opportunity here to get something like really big and really fantastic for the DC line. Here he is beside a couple of other DC Multiverse figures. We have Superboy Prime and Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I don't have any of the McFarlane DC Superpowers figures, but I do have 5-inch figures from Avatar The Last Airbender, Sokka and Katara, and I wanted to put them next to him so that if you are a DC Superpowers collector, you can see how much taller he is than McFarlane's standard 5-inch figures, that he would be a impressive presence in your Superpowers collection. And here he is beside two more DC Multiverse mega figures, Bane and Necron. And now that I have him sized up next to these two, I think there's another flaw in this figure that I'm going to nitpick at, and that is that he's not tall enough. How is Necron taller than him? How is Bane taller than him? He should definitely at least be taller than Bane. I really think they should have sized him up and made him at least as tall as Necron here. Because here he is beside Mattel Masterverse, Masters of the Universe, New Eternia He-Man, and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. Here he is beside Diamond Select Marvel Select Thanos and Diamond Select The Black Hole Maximilian. Here he is beside Hasbro Marvel Legends Walgreens exclusive Quasar and Marvel Legends Genis Vell. Here he is beside Jazzware Spartan Collection Master Chief and Noble 6. And finally, here he is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons War Duke and Grimsword. So I really only have two complaints about this figure, and one's not even a complaint, it's just a personal opinion. First, like I said before, I would have loved to have seen some red behind the eyes instead of just the black, or maybe some red in the mouth, something to sort of simulate that, like, Kirby crackle that you would see whenever he was, like, you know, raging in the middle of battle, that, like, it was coming out from behind his eyes, it was coming out of his mouth. It was actually sort of, like, all over his torso, too. The other complaint that I have, and this is very much leaning into McFarlane's lack of scaling whenever they do their figures, he needs to be bigger. Like, I thought he was a decent size when we were filming this video, but then when I put him up against Necron and Bane, I was like, how is he shorter than Bane? Like, I could almost deal with him being a little shorter than Necron if it wasn't for the fact that he was like a quarter-inch shorter than Bane. Bane is just a dude that juices himself up on, you know, steroids. This is somebody that embodied the anti-life equation. So, the fact that he's, like, smaller than Bane, like, the scaling, once again, with McFarlane is completely off. Other than that, I'm really digging this guy. I wish I would have had some 3 3/4 inch figures out for the size comparison, because you saw how he scaled against the 5-inch figures if you have the DC Superpowers line that McFarlane is putting out. But if you had the Spin Masters 3 3/4 inch line or the 4-inch line, I forget which it is, he would look even more impressive against those. So just like with any of the mega figs that McFarlane puts out, there's a lot of possibility of mixing and matching this guy in with any of your other lines. Heck, there's even a possibility of mixing and matching him in with something that isn't DC. He's just a big, armored, biomechanical, cyborg, semi-robot thing, a monstrosity that you could just unleash upon the masses in pretty much any environment that you have. And he looks great. Like, this is one instance where, like, they really leaned into doing a comic book accurate version of the Anti-Monitor, and I think they did a really good job. I like that they kept him simple. I like that they kept him clean. I like that there's no unnecessary texturing on the smooth bits of his armor. I like what they did with, like, you know, sort of like that Colossus body plating on his legs and torsos and arms. I think the whole thing just looks really good and really, really accurate to, like, the original appearance of the Anti-Monitor. I think it's great. I hope you enjoyed this one. I feel like this is a figure that, like, old school DC fans like myself, I feel like this is a figure that maybe we've been waiting for. Something that harkens back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Something that harkens back, you know, to the beginning of this whole multiversal madness thing. And also to the beginning of DC's need to reboot the universe every 5 to 10 years. For better or for worse. And just one more time, I really do think there is an opportunity right here for McFarlane to produce something that would be like a crowd-funded, really big, like 3-foot-tall Galactus-esque figure for this DC Multiverse line. So until that happens, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.